Tragic love stories. There are many love stories in Greek myth. Some of them are the happy ending stories, some are tragic ending stories. Love between mortals and gods appear in Greek myth too. However, not every couple are lucky. There are some tragic love stories between gods and humans. Three stories which will be discussed about are Apollo and Daphne, Selene and Endymion, and Orpheus and Eurydice.
The story of Apollo and Daphne. Daphne was a beautiful nymph who did not care any love from men. She loved hunting in the deep wood and had a freedom like her master Artemis. But her father Peneus, the god of river, was sad because he wanted her to marry and have a grandson for him. One day, Apollo, the god of light and truth, came to Eros, the god of love, and insulted him about his bow. With anger, Eros shot the golden arrow to Apollo's heart, which made him fall in love with Daphne. But in the other side, Eros shot the lead arrow to Daphne, which incited her hatred to Apollo. Apollo tried to pursue Daphne, but she was afraid of him and ran away. Daphne knew that she could not run away from Apollo because he was a god, so she asked her father for help and begged her to free her from Apollo. Peneus changed her to be a royal tree, just right in the time Apollo led her. Apollo saw every progress of Daphne turning into the royal tree. Apollo's first love failed. He knew that he could not get her anymore. So he turned her to be his tree and said her leaf would be on his head and be the symbol of victory.
How gods involved in the story of Apollo and Daphne. Peneus, he was the god of river and Daphne's father. He turned his daughter into the laurel tree because of her beg. Eros or Cupid, the god of love, who was way involved in every love story. In this story, he shot two arrows to Apollo and Daphne, which make it to be a tragic love story.
Story of Endymion and Selene. This is the story of the goddess of moon who fell in love with a mortal. Endymion was a beautiful young man. Selene was the moon goddess. Selene, the moon goddess, saw him and loved him. She loved him so much that she went to Zeus and asked him eternal youth for Endymion. Zeus granted her wish on the condition that he fell into eternal sleep, so he never grew old or died. Selene visits him every night in his dream and kisses him softly with her rays of light. She also bore 50 daughters to Endymion. How God involved in the story of Endymion and Selene. God who involved in this story was Selene herself and Zeus. Selene, the moon goddess, who fell in love with a shepherd and caused him an eternal sleep. Zeus was the one who granted Selene wishes and eternal youth on the condition that he fell into eternal sleep.
Orpheus and Eurydice. Eurydice is another huntress who loved the comforts of the deep woods. She detests love and marriage and vowed never to marry. One day, was tired and hot from the chase. She came upon a crystal clear river deeply shaded in silvery willows. She undresses and bathes in the river. For a while, she swam to and fro until she began to feel something below her. She sprang up from the river and stood on the bank. As she heard a voice that says, "Why such has fairest maiden?" She kept running and running, but still she was pursued by one stranger. He told her he was the god of the river, Orpheus, and that he was following her only out of absolute love. Aletheia called to her god Artemis. She changed her into a spring of water and split the earth, so a tunnel was made under the sea from Greece to Sicily. Aletheia plunged down and emerged in Ortygia, where the place in which her spring bubbles up is horizontal, said to Artemis. But it is said that she is still not free of Orpheus. The story is that the gods changed back into a river, followed her through the tunnel, and now his water mingles with hers in the fountain. They say that often Greek flowers and seen coming up from the bottom, and that if a wooden cup is thrown into the Orpheus in Greece, it would reappear in Aletheia well in Sicily.
How gods involved in the story of Orpheus and Aletheia. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, moon, forest, and hill. She is the master of Aletheia. So she turned her follower into the spring when Orpheus followed her. Story similarity. All the couple were loved at one sight. For example, Apollo pursued Daphne, but she didn't care. Selene loved Endymion, but he was unconscious. Orpheus saw Aletheia and fell in love with her, but she ran away. Those who ran away and denied God's love were transformed into something or made to be immortal. For example, Daphne was turned into the laurel tree. Endymion was lured to sleep forever, and Aletheia was changed to be a spring.
Gods involved. Sometimes gods did help, but sometimes they just make it worse. For example, Peneus helped Daphne from Apollo by turning her into a laurel tree. Selene made Endymion to be immortal but with eternal sleep, and Artemis helped Aletheia by turning her into spring water. All enthusiastically and fell in their love even they were together. For example, Apollo put laurel leaf on his head as sign of victory. Selene was together with Endymion, but only his body, not his soul. The spring of Aletheia and the god of water were together, but just only in the form.
These three stories are one-sided love story of gods who fell in love but did not get the love back. All of these stories have gods involving by causing and solving the problems. They want people they love to love them back, and their passion caused their own pain. They had to suffer in what they had done, and there are also other gods who got involved by helping the mortal to escape from the problems. All of these stories end with suffering and disappointing.